And Labour has finally withdrawn support for the Rochdale by-election candidate Azhar Ali after the councillor became embroiled in an anti-Semitism row over comments he had made about Israel. Sir Keir Starmer had initially stood by Ali despite growing protests from the Jewish community, but was forced into a U-turn after further comments were revealed last night.
The media, and some of the people in the media from certain Jewish quarters were given about what he said. Graham, you can't say this. Graham, you can't say this, but I'll say it. Right? Netanyahu, right, deliberately, he was in political trouble. He's in, he's in political trouble. He cashed it. They deliberately, I believe that, and I've said it publicly. They deliberately took the security off. Yeah. They allowed the massacre, and here's a massacre of 1,200 innocent people, right? They allowed that massacre, and that gives them the green light to do whatever they bloody want.
This comes as it is revealed that more than 700 complaints of anti-Semitism have been dealt with by Labour's National Executive Committee since Starmer took over as leader. These figures, combined with the fallout in Rochdale, could restore some confidence in the Conservatives, despite the Tories falling to their lowest ever poll rating with Rishi Sunak as Prime Minister. Well, joining us now in the studio is former Labour advisor, the one and only Matthew Laza, and of course we're still joined by Leon Emirali. Matthew, I'm sorry, but when you look at this scenario, it seems to me that I would imagine the Labour Party had some inkling of the sort of views this man may have held, and frankly, we're fairly comfortable with that, knowing that it's probably going to win votes in that constituency.
No, Alex, honestly, I really don't think that. I mean, I don't think it's been a great few days for the Labour Party. I think it's been a disgraceful few days for the Labour Party. There are huge lessons to be learned and there are questions to be asked. But I don't think anybody would have presumed that he had those views. He's been a very senior councillor in Lancashire. He's worked very closely with Louise Ellman, who was the former leader of Lancashire County Council, who's Jewish, who left the Labour Party.
And he's an anti-Semite.
And he
clearly
and, he's absolutely
anti-Semitic.
Absolutely, he's anti-Semitic, and he shouldn't be in the Labour Party. And there are lots of questions to be asked, which is why he was suspended last night. Now, the question is, should he have been suspended in the morning? Frankly, if nominations hadn't already closed, i.e., Labour could have got him out and got him off the ballot paper. He'd have been toast 5 minutes after the Mail on Sunday rang the Labour Party press office. Because he made an abject policy, they will have asked him clearly if there was anything else to come out. He would have said no, so he would have lied to them. As I can't think of any other circumstances, and therefore they will have taken that. They will have worked with him on the apology. They will have talked to other people like Louise, who gave him a character reference, and stuck with him. Frankly, I think they should have been harder at the beginning. That's a question of judgment. But I don't think there was no way that he would have done it. The 750 complaints you mentioned most of them will be dealing with the wash-up from the Corbyn era, when the complaints weren't dealt with, and you needed to get people who should have left hadn't left.
Richard, I'm quoting Richard Littlejohn. He quoted this joke in his column in the Mail today, and it's very apposite. He said, there's a couple getting married, and the vicar says, sorry, terrible. The best man's just had sex with the bride. It's all off. So, we came all the way. We've got a best clothes. Everybody leaving the congregation. Suddenly the vicar says, it's all right. The best man's apologised. Yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much an analogy. Why, Matthew, did the Labour Party take 24 hours before realising what the right thing to do was? And why did so many prominent members of the Labour Party, Pat McFadden, Lisa Nandy, go around saying, well, he's apologised, so that's all right? That's disgraceful.
Look, I mean, I think that they took his apology at face value.
It's not good enough, though, is it,
and they listened to other people who'd worked with him, particularly Louise. Louise was an MP who stood down over anti-Semitism. She's one of the most respected voices. She's rejoined the Labour Party under Keir. She gave a personal testimony for him. Now, I mean, the idea that Louise was going to give somebody a personal reference if they thought that they were anti-Semitic, if she'd known...
Yeah, but this guy is anti-Semitic.
Yeah, I mean, look, clearly,
she shouldn't have given him a personal reference because he's anti-Semitic. He's a Jew
she obviously didn't know that until
she shouldn't have done it, though, should she?
Well, until the revelation
should have had a look
out.
before she did this.
Well, she obviously known him.
You guys are just tap dancing here.
She'd known him for 20 years. The truth of the matter is they were completely between a rock and a hard place because they didn't have the chance to replace him as candidate, so it was either no candidate and asked people to vote for George Galloway. Well, like now. And interestingly, you know that the Green candidate has also been disowned by the Greens for very... we haven't actually seen the tweets.
For different reasons,
as well. So it is an absolute nightmare. Look, I'm very clear. What Labour now needs to do is be as firm as it can possibly be. I want to know about who was in the room at the meeting. The meeting wasn't in Rochdale, by the way, when the recording was done. It was at a little bit a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, in Lancashire, where he's based, over the county border. And anybody who's in that room, should, in my view, should be suspended from the Labour Party because they sat there and listened to his anti-Semitic tropes and did nothing, apart from the poor person who recorded it, who we have to thank.
So what on earth does happen now? Because the man's still on the ballot paper. He's still going to be on the ballot paper next to a Labour sign, but technically he's not Labour. I mean, it's very confusing and could potentially lead lots of voters astray if they're thinking they're voting for the Labour Party and they're not.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Labour will make it absolutely. I mean, I think that nobody in Rochdale will think he's still the Labour candidate because they should, be absolutely clear. The signs will be coming down. The staff will have left yesterday. Labour will have been taking any leaflet that's got his name and the word Labour Party on. They'll have stopped the election address, which is delivered free to every household. But yeah, it's a nightmare. Similarly, the Green, I think, is still going to the ballot paper with the Green logo next to him and isn't a candidate. Maybe there's an issue about electoral law and how these things are organised.
It does. I mean, when you think of how much, you might know more than I do, but certainly I've been part of a few sort of smaller parties. And when it comes to registering your name with ELCOM, there's got to be absolutely no way that anyone can get this wrong, that you've got two people whose names are too similar. You might vote for the wrong person when you meant that one, or the name of the party might be confusing. There's so much legislation around it that I find it quite staggering that two candidates are going to have parties' names next to them that they're not even standing for those parties.
Yeah, what a bizarre situation we find ourselves in. But I think
the Green guy's in trouble for attacking the Quran.
He is.
He's coming from the other side of the fence.
I mean, you can say that all views are represented.
You've certainly got a lot of...
Yeah, but I think the question, Matthew, that I've got is whether or not Keir Starmer, whenever there's a camera in front of that guy's face, he always says the words, "The Labour Party has changed." And yet we look at this and we see this anti-Semitism that is clearly still rife in the party. OK, the leader may have changed. OK, the leader might not hold those views. But clearly there are a number of individuals in the party that do still hold those views.
Let me tell you exactly what I think's happened is, having sat in a lot of Labour Party meetings, thankfully, if anybody... I didn't actually hear any anti-Semitism in my local meetings, but if I did, I would have stood up immediately and not just recorded and sent to the Mail on Sunday. But what I think has happened is that the anti-Semitism, what you might call left anti-Semitism, has basically been really clamped down on by Keir.
Not well enough.
But I think we have an issue here, which is about Muslim community politics. So this guy has risen through as a community leader.
Never mind the Muslim community now. Let's talk about the Labour Party. Can we take it now? And I do believe... I do believe Keir Starmer deserves credit. He's done a lot of work getting rid of the scourge of anti-Semitism in
Hundreds
the Labour
of people
Party.
have left.
However, it's still there, as we well know. Can we take it, though, Matthew, that in future the Labour Party will not be so stupid as to just say, this guy has spewed a load of anti-Semitic, Jew-hating crap, but he's apologised, so that's all right. They won't make that mistake again. Will they make that mistake again?
You can bet your bottom dollar that mistake will never be made again. Because, if I was one of those MPs who'd been forced out in the media around yesterday to defend him and say he only fell for an internet conspiracy theory, I would have... I mean, frankly, if I'd been in the shadow cabinet, unlikely there is, then I would have said, no, I'm not going to go and say that.
Starmer's been out and about today saying he's taken tough and decisive action. I wouldn't say he has at all, would you?
What he has said is a tough decision. He's been in Wellingborough, where they've got a by-election on Thursday, campaigning there, a constituency where Labour could well take the seat. It's a tough decision, a necessary decision, but when I say the Labour Party has changed under my leadership, I mean it. What concerns me is, it may well have changed. I think it's moving more into bringing secular politics into the United Kingdom, because there are various constituencies now where you've got ethnic minority communities and those from different cultural backgrounds making demands of the Labour Party, saying, we're going to run our candidate against yours to unseat it. We control the Muslim vote. There's even an organisation now called Muslim Vote. And it's frankly worrying. And I want to know what Sir Keir Starmer and what the Labour Party plan to do about this, because this is a problem that's going to afflict more than anybody. And when we saw this guy announced as the candidate for Rochdale, he was standing there with his translator to speak to his community. And I think there's going to be a lot of people out there thinking, this doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem like United Kingdom British politics.
I hate this kind of, it doesn't matter if it's a Muslim community or another community, this kind of sort of block politics. It's the kind of modern-day equivalent of Tammany Hall in America in the 19th century when, the Irish controlled this part and the Italians controlled that part. And I don't like it at all, and I am uncomfortable with it. Actually, to be honest with you, it's one of the reasons why I hesitated about being an MP. A friend of mine who's standing in a constituency which has, it's a marginal constituency, has about 20% Muslim Muslim population. Both he and the existing Tory MP spend every Friday in the mosque trying to curry favour. So, you know, and the idea that, you know, a lever is pulled, you keep certain people, mosque elders happy, and then people, and they can deliver a whole block of votes. That makes me very uncomfortable. And we should be talking direct to Muslim voters and not to so-called Muslim leaders who then kind of operate this block politics
It
system.
reminds me of African politics, of which I'm very familiar with.
Nick Thomas-Simons is out today saying
He's a brave man after
this Azhar Ali fell for an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, but he's not an anti-Semite.
I think he said that
Why are
yesterday.
they? That said it today on LBC. Why are they still saying this?
Well,
it's not true. He is an anti-Semite.
Look, I mean, look, I've been a member of the Labour Party for 30 years. The comments that we've heard,
why are they still out there doing it?
The honest answer is, I'm genuinely shocked that he said that today, because that's what I thought he was saying yesterday. They should stop saying that. They should admit they need to think again about how they do this. If perchance he wins, it's not impossible he might win. He won't be a Labour MP. He'll be an independent, and he certainly won't be the Labour candidate.
Let me ask you both, or all of us. I mean, are we concerned that in a number of constituencies, quite a few around Britain, come the general election, they will be fought on a ticket of which side in the Middle Eastern war do you support? I mean, I don't suppose
it's not the first time.
You can't really do anything about it democratically, but it is worrying, isn't it?
Massively. I was in Kingswood yesterday, where there's a by-election, South Gloucestershire way. People are saying, and it tends to be that the Muslim community votes down the lines of, you know, we will support those who call for a ceasefire, and the Jewish community vote for those who call for Israel to continue their offensive. Now, that isn't right in a by-election, which ultimately is about local issues, which is about who is going to be your local.
Well, I mean,
MP.
the truth of the matter is the Reform candidate in Rochdale, who's the ex-Labour MP, is putting, I'm going to put Rochdale, not Palestine, first on his leaflets. That will have a serious resonance. I know Rochdale, a serious resonance on their kind of very traditional white working class estate. So you're absolutely right that, you know, you end up rock and a hard place.
Of course, chaps, we've got to live via the rules of Ofcom, our regulator, which means that we have to name
the first half
single
this time.
candidate who is standing in that forthcoming by-election in Rochdale. So you've got Azhar Ali, was Labour, now, well, on his Todd. Mark Coleman, who is an independent. Simon Danchuk, he will be representing Reform UK. Ian Donaldson, who's Liberal Democrat. Paul Ellison for the Conservative Party. George Galloway, Workers' Party of Britain.
Michael Howarth, independent. William Howarth, independent. Guy Otten, Green Party.
Ex-Green Party now, don't forget that one. That one's changed as well.
Well,
it's technically
official
support withdrawn.
Ballot.
He needs the brackets.
Not according to the ballot. They've got the
brackets.
same problem as Labour. Anyway, so dubiously Green Guy Otten. Ravin Rodent Subordna, the official monster raving loony party, and David Tully, independent. So those are the full list of candidates standing in Rochdale.